Talk about the team's mood, how we're feeling heading into this final SEC series with Missouri, and is it kind of hard to believe that we're already at this point of the season?
It's incredibly hard to believe we're already at this point of the season. It has gone so fast. There have been some days that have dragged a little longer than others. But it's hard to believe that we're going into our last weekend of regular season. It really has flown by. And I feel like our team's in a really good spot. I think that we have a short week with playing the Monday night and having to drive to Missouri today. So our week's a little shorter than we've had. But I think that's a good thing to get right back out on the field. And I think it's going to be a good matchup this weekend. I think that Missouri's playing about as well as they've played all year. And having their last regular season, home weekend and all the emotions that come with that, we know that we're going to have a really big challenge ahead of us. So we're ready.
Cord, are you muted?
I can't hear you.
I said, coming off a short week like with series, do you think that helps you having one less day to kind of sit there and think about last weekend where you can move on to this weekend?
Well, I don't know if it helps us. Hopefully, it hopefully keeps us in a good spot momentum wise. The one thing that we have to really hit hard is just the prep for Missouri. They have a lot of pitchers. They use a lot of pitchers. So just really diving into that and making sure that we're being efficient in our prep for them. And so it's, I hope it serves us well to just kind of ride this momentum, getting back out on the field about as quickly as you can in the SEC season. So hopefully it works to our benefit.
Last thing I got is just bring up Ethan's tweet and how it really took off, and what Hannah, it's not really his tweet, but the response it got from the national softball, colleagues, and just what they think of Hannah and her character, and what does that show about her character, and just speak on that for a little bit.
Well, I can speak on it for a while. Ethan's had some really big tweets out lately, so I wasn't sure which one you were going to talk about. I mean, there's also the viewership and all those things that were really exciting coming off the weekend. I am never surprised by Hannah and her heart. And so I left before her. And so I didn't get to see it with my own eyes. But I'm not surprised in the slightest. She's one of the most caring, generous, selfless, I could go on and on, individuals that I've ever had the privilege of knowing. And she wears her heart on her sleeve, and she just has a heart for others and just wants to serve everyone around her. And so it's pretty cool to have that response because I think it takes about 0.2 seconds in her presence to know her heart and who she is.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan?
Yeah, Courtney, some off the field news, I guess, yesterday or the day before, the APR scores came out and your team got a perfect one again. I guess, what does it take in to foster an environment with a team where you're having a lot of on-field success, but then a perfect APR now every year you've been here?
Well, I think that it means we're choosing the right individuals. I think that we have driven, committed, really strong women that we choose to be in our program that are committed to getting the job done both on and off the field. So it's a reflection of their character and who they are, more so than anything.
And then last thing I got is I believe it's 11 consecutive SEC Road Series y'all are carrying into this that you've won. What's it taken? I mean, 2 or 3 at that point, you're like, wow, that's a few in a row. But to stack up 11, that's just sustained success. Just what's it take for the team, or any theories you have on what's made it so difficult, or so not difficult, but
it's difficult.
Well, y'all make it not look difficult. That's what I'm trying to get.
Oh, that's kind. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I know that when we're on the road, our team's really focused. Not that we aren't at home, but there's not as many distractions. There's not like you're there, you're on a business trip. You're connected, you're always around each other. And I don't think we go in making anything more of it than just trying to win the game we're in. And so I've loved our approach on the road. I hope we can, keep that going. It's going to come to an end at some point. I'm not sure when that is. But it's been a pretty good run. And I know that it just gets you ready for whatever the postseason brings. Right now, I feel like we're, like wherever, whether we're home, whether we're on the road postseason, I feel like we're really comfortable either way. We play really well on the road. And so I don't know what the special recipe is. I just think that they like to compete in the games that they're in, and it's worked in our favor.
Dudley?
I know obviously you would have liked to won all 3 games last weekend, but other than that, when you look at the fans, you look at the weather, you look at overcoming adversity of losing to that first game, all the way to Timber Riley getting a base hit, was that about as perfect a weekend emotionally as you could have?
Oh yeah, it was an incredible weekend. I obviously want to win every game we're in, but when you're walking away from one of the top 3 teams in the country and you win the series, and you play really well in the game that you lose, I would just really, I mean, if we would have played that way, honestly, I hate losing. If we would have played the way we played and they edged us out in all 3, I still would have been really pleased with our team and the way they competed and the way we played. It was a really great regular season finale at home. Our fans showed up, our team showed up, they competed. Winning the series against Tennessee is so huge. Getting all our, getting Timber that at bat, getting, all of the things. It was a great weekend. It was a great weekend. So yeah, pretty exciting.
Eric?
Yeah, Coach, when you see Missouri on tape, what do you see? Because obviously they have a lot of new faces on offense compared to the last few years, but as you mentioned, a lot of familiar faces in the circle. What jumps out when you see them on tape?
Well, I see that they're playing as good as they've played all year. So I see that. I see that they're playing with a little bit of a chip, obviously coming down to crunch time here and feeling like they're playing for something. So you have that extra motivation. Their pitchers, and Larissa always does a great job with her pitchers. They are very effective and they complement each other really well. So I think it's going in knowing that we're going to need to make quick adjustments. Krings is throwing really well. They just complement each other really well. She mixes and matches them really well. And so we know that. And then, I think they're swinging it better every weekend. You have Laird and Honnold up at the top, who are 2 of the best. And so, I think that when I look on tape, I think that they're better than their record. I wouldn't get distracted by their SEC record or standing. I think that as you go through this season, it's a really long season, and I think you can have some tough weeks. I think they've had some tough weeks, and they're a good team. So I am ready for a challenge. They're going to throw everything at us that they have, and we got to be ready for it.
You mentioned obviously the short week. How much of an adjustment is that for a coaching staff in a short week to get your team prepared versus a Sunday to Friday? Instead, you got a Monday going on the road for a weekend series. How much of an adjustment is it?
Well, it's a big adjustment just even from last week. Last week, we felt like we had forever. And so this week, when you have Tuesday off and your only practice at home is Wednesday, it's a short week for pitchers. It's a short week for prep. So you just have to be really efficient and what you're doing. The players don't feel the short week as much as the coaches do. The players are like, yeah, we get to play again right away. And we are sitting here going, do we have the time to get everything we need to? So we need to make sure we're really efficient in how we deliver it and making sure they feel fully prepared.
You're coming off another record attended weekend and home there as well. And you're about to host the SEC tournament. I just interviewed Jenny Parsons, the Central Arkansas head coach. She was talking about how they've had record attendance over there in Conway. And she said she gave you a lot of credit for this growth in softball in the state of Arkansas, that the fanfare across the state has grown and exploded. And she's given you credit because of the way you've built the Arkansas program and the fact you're willing to play a UCA every year. Just talk about the growth of interest in softball in the state.
Wow. Well, I think that's incredibly kind and incredibly generous. Um, I think that the growth in the state is a reflection of the growth of the sport across the country, the growth of the exposure, and the quality of the exposure. I always say that the broadcasts that are put out, the ESPN coverage of SEC softball, of softball across the country, of the thousands of games that are on, it just makes it so much more accessible to young girls. And I do think that it grabs people. This sport grabs people. I do still love the ESPN Meg Aronowitz of there's people that love softball and people that don't know it yet. It's so true. And so I do think that the growth in this state is a reflection of the growth of the sport. I do think that our level of play has increased that. And that's also as much Jenny as it is us here at Arkansas. It's, I was talking to a friend a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about, she has an older daughter and a younger daughter. And she was talking about how when the older daughter went through, it was basketball and soccer. There wasn't a lot of softball. And with her younger daughter, she loves watching our team and she loves watching the sport. And so there's just so much more opportunity for softball for young girls. And so I do think that, where I do think we have a small part of it. I don't know that it's as generous as Jenny has been, but I do think that we've gave them something to look at and want to be a part of, and we've given them really great role models that they can see themselves doing that. And so I think it's just more than anything a really special time for the sport of softball.
Porter.
Yeah, Coach, I really want to piggyback off what Eric just said. And what do you think it would do for women's sports as a whole, coming off one of the most exciting women's college basketball seasons? And then you go right into what projections we're seeing for this regionals and super regionals. I mean, this could end up being one of the most exciting postseasons for softball as well. And having those back to back, what do you think that would do for women's sports as a whole?
Well, hopefully just continues to get the recognition that they deserve. I mean, women's sports are really exciting. It's a tremendous amount of athleticism. And so I think that the growth is also a reflection of just people watching and realizing how badass they are. Can I say that on media? So I love it. I love it. I think this softball postseason is gonna, be bigger than last year. And I think every year it's going to continue to grow because we continue to get more fans and the level of play continues to elevate. And it's exciting. These athletes deserve it. I mean, they deserve it. They're incredible.
Do you have any last questions for Coach Deifel? Okay, thank you.